Oh my gosh, thank you guys so much for coming. My name's Jillian Smith,
I'm Reagan York.
and we're S&Q Films, and we'll be your hosts for this evening's Proof Pitch Deck Show and Tell at the third edition of the Proof Film Festival. Very exciting.
Yeah, we're so excited for you guys. We're a directing duo, and we support new voices. We're so excited to be here and watch all these amazing pitches. And yeah, just thanks for having us.
Yeah. So little rundown. This event offers filmmakers and creators the exciting opportunity to present their pitch decks and project ideas to a live audience of peers, industry professionals, and potential collaborators.
Yeah, so we just want to say thank you to the audience members for being here, and thank you to all the judges and filmmakers as well. We are so excited.
And a little rundown. Today we will have 8 fantastic pitches for you all, and these were selected out of over 100 submissions to this category. Yeah, so very, very selective, so very exciting.
And each project today will get 5 minutes to present and 5 minutes of live feedback from our highly esteemed group of judges as well.
And to intro our judges, first up, we have executive leadership coach and founder of Moonshot Mentor LLC, Laverne McKinnon. Yeah.
And then we have independent director, writer, and treatment designer, Elizabeth Archer.
And manager at North Star LA, Jared Ellis.
And we have co-founder, director, and producer of 271 Films, Constanza Castro.
And you can also read more about the guest bios and their amazing backgrounds on our website as well.
Awesome. Okay, so the pitches that you'll be seeing today are B from Amy Omar and Pinar Binay. You can stand up, wave. Yeah.
And next we have Cult-Like Activity from Sam Schaefer.
And we have It Revolves Around Taicho from Zoe Milinkovic and Elias Kyrakidis.
And next we have Lucky Lenny from Jack Campais.
Paper Tiger from Don Ahmad.
And next, Skylight from Adia Ivy.
The Re-Education of Jane Brown from M.K. McGee.
And lastly, we have When I Taste Blood from Kaden LaRoche, Jazeel Chu, and Anoop Chaganti.
Okay, so let's get started. We're all here for the presentations. First up is Amy Omar and Pinar Binay with B.
Hello, everyone. The name of our project is called B. My name's Amy Omar. I'm the director of B.
Hi everyone, my name is Pinar Binay and I'm the producer of B. So, the script for B was written by Melis Aker. She's a Turkish screenwriter currently based in London. The script was also previously selected for Cannes Film Festival's Maison des Scénaristes. So let's dive right into it. B is a Turkish language art house debut feature. It is a coming-of-age drama set in Istanbul, Turkey in 2015. B is a cautionary tale. It highlights a breaking point in Turkey's history, both socially and politically. B is global. It's timely and female-forward.
Now diving into the story of B. B follows the story of an 11-year-old introverted girl named Melek. Melek comes home from school one day and sees that her father has left her mother for another woman. In an effort to find her father, Melek instead meets her neighbor upstairs, Milo. Nilo is a bohemian woman with an eclectic, eccentric group of friends, a world very different from the one that Melek knows. As Melek and Nilo's friendship deepens, Melek is left asking herself, who is the woman I'm going to become in this changing country? Now to dive into the characters. Melek is our protagonist. As the audience, we are very much in her world. Melek plays the role of the observer. She casts a mirror to the women in her orbit, exposing their flaws and inadequacies. Though quiet, Melek is full of unprocessed emotions of rage, powerful in her silence until her final outburst at the end. There are two women in Melek's life. The first is Pelin, Melek's mother. Pelin is the type of woman who does everything societally right. She got married, she had a child, and now, akin to Simone de Beauvoir's A Woman Destroyed, she feels powerless in her broken marriage. Nilo, on the other hand, is Melek's neighbor upstairs. Nilo is the opposite of Pelin. She's independent, she's free-spirited, she's bohemian, and she chooses not to be in a committed relationship. Diving into my vision as a director of B. As someone who spent her time growing up between the American Midwest and Istanbul, Turkey, I'm Turkish American, I feel like B is a culmination of all of my goals as a filmmaker. I have the privilege of being a part of these two worlds, and I want to use that privilege to show a real and authentic version of Istanbul to international and an American audience. Creatively, B is rooted both in a European sentimentality, so think quiet, subtle, thought-provoking, and an American Western indie. So raw, free-spirited, independent. Kind of think a cross between Deniz Erguven's Mustang and Dennis Hopper's Out of the Blue. Since 2013, there's been a diminishment of democratic rights in Turkey, a state that's very similar to actually what we're going through in the US right now. Through the eyes of a young protagonist, B will touch on universal themes of womanhood and democratic freedom.
So, in addition to the two of us, we've been lucky enough to gather an incredible team of collaborators on B. We're working with casting director Harika Uygur, who actually casted the 2015 film Mustang. She was the one who discovered the 5 young girls who are in the lead. We're also working with a production services company in Turkey, Vigo Films. You can think of them as A24 of Turkey. They have a track record of producing indie darlings that hit European festivals such as Rotterdam and Locarno. I also want to touch upon the logistics of B. We are aiming to shoot this movie in January of 2026 in Turkey and prepare it for a festival release in the summer. B's budget is very intentionally kept under $1 million to maximize the upside for our investors on the distribution side. We're also tapping into soft money out of Turkey and France to create the strongest package possible. So, thank you for being here. We're lucky enough to be standing on the shoulders of some incredible filmmakers and films, such as The Farewell, Joyland, and Mustang. These films have changed the foreign language cinema for American audiences, and we're proud to be following their footsteps both creatively and logistically.
Making your first feature is a privilege we don't take lightly. There's a reason why we all chose B to be our first. It's a chance for us to bring our two worlds together and to tell a fresh and new perspective and to redefine what it means to be an American indie. Thank you so much for being here, and we're open for questions.
Amazing. All right, and now we'll pass it off to the judges.
Hi, I'm Laverne. Can you hear me okay? Okay. What a beautiful pitch. I mean, in terms of like the visuals, what you said, how you said it, it was really, really well crafted. One of the things that I was just longing for a little bit more was on the story side, because you were introducing me into a world that I wasn't familiar with. I didn't, I felt like it was just like a little bit shorthanded for me. So that would be my one potential fix or change. But I also really, really loved the comps that really helped ground me as well. And then great credibility in terms of talking about the team that you've assembled so far.
Thank you.
Hi. Again, just building off of that. Can you hear me here? Here? Both? Great. Both? Okay. I would say, just to riff off that, I think what could be helpful is having like a little synopsis of the first act, second act, and three act, I think, in the future. And I also think I'm also just gonna always touch on like just treatment stuff because I'm also a treatment designer. I loved your comps. I think I would have loved to see like 2 posters of them or maybe even a couple more. But I think you have such a strong, like, the visual statement overall was really impactful, and I love the images that you did choose.
Hi, I'm Constanza. I think you guys did an amazing job, and I'm really excited about your film. Adding to agree with all of the notes, definitely on story, just wanted to hear a little bit more about the arc. And then from a production standpoint, I just had like a question about, like, you mentioned that you wanted to shoot in January, but then be like doing festivals in the summer, which seemed a little fast. So just kind of want to, if that's realistic on your end, like.
Sure. So we're planning right now on a January shoot. That'll be about a month, and then dive right into post-production, and then start submitting to festivals essentially after that period. So I would say probably March, April.
I'll also jump on that because Amy and I have worked together. Well, it's jumping for that. And I appreciate the question because we are like kind of getting ahead of it already. So
No, that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great that you have a plan. I also really wanted to see some comps visually, but yeah, congrats. It's a beautiful story.
I also think it's good. I do. No, I did. I thought it was great. I think, kind of with what everyone's saying, I didn't get a great feel for what. But I know that you guys only had 5 minutes to do it, so it's like, what do you cut and what do you keep in? But I think overall, just showing more about what the movie's supposed to be is going to be really helpful, just in terms of getting it across to people. But great work.
thank you.
Awesome. Let's give it up for B.
And next up, we have Cult-Like Activity from Sam Schaefer.
Aren't you tired of drinking the Kool-Aid? Would you like to make your own? See, in a world where our social infrastructure pushes us further towards isolation and our economic infrastructure gives us less mobility than ever, it begs the question, if you could burn your life to the ground right now and start over with a community that provided you with everything you needed, would you? That's what Sarah Hobart thought she was doing. Sarah is a recent college dropout who has felt completely lost ever since. So she joined the Congregants of Free Healing, a cult in the Catskills of New York. Sarah is smart and driven and in desperate need of a Lexapro prescription because she is so plagued with anxiety that she can't just take action. So it makes sense that she found a friend in Reagan Williams. Reagan is a natural-born leader or a total narcissist, depending on your perspective. The two met in a cult led by Marvin Axelrod. Marvin is a psychopath. He has unbound ambition and a million ideas, so he gets bored very quickly, which is why on the day that his cult is due to commit mass suicide and ascend to the next realm, he lets everyone know that he's actually kind of bored with this whole thing and is going to be quitting to start a cold yoga studio. So, following the sudden dissolution of their cult, these two lost 20-somethings realize they have one option: start their own. This is Cult-Like Activity, a 30-minute comedic thriller television show that has the emotional tone of Barry, the heightened characters and absurdity of Search Party, and the frenetic narrative pace and visuals of The Studio. Overall, I want the look to be very filmic. I want it to have that 70s cult-like atmosphere with greens and blues especially popping on screen to juxtapose a lot of the chaos that we're going to be see unfolding. And it's all going to take place in America's purgatory, upstate New York. But let's get back to the story. 6 months after their cult dissolved, Sarah and Reagan realize they have to start their own. So they turn to the McAfees, a family of 4 that they met while in Marvin's cult. But when they arrive on their front door, they realize that life has not been going so well for them either. In a sudden economic downturn, they have had to start a family business selling opiates. They're selling Vicodin and Perk 30s and getting turned on codeine. So they quickly agree to join Sarah and Reagan's new cult and even offer to sell the remainder of their drugs in one big deal in order to give Sarah and Reagan the funding that they desperately need. Meanwhile, in the background, a mysterious and ambitious young FBI agent surveils Sarah and Reagan's every move, collecting evidence against them. Sarah and Reagan's drug deal goes incredibly south, and they end up with no money and no drugs, and they have to turn to the one person that they said they would never turn to, Marvin. Marvin agrees to fully fund their new cult venture in exchange for one thing. He gets to co-lead. Begrudgingly, the duo has to accept this offer with nowhere else to turn, but leave with their heads held high, convinced that they can keep Marvin's negative influence at bay. But right as they leave, it is revealed to the audience that Marvin has made a second deal with the FBI. In exchange for total immunity for all of his past wrongdoings, he is going to help the Bureau secure a much-needed political win by stopping a fledgling cult. The first season of this series is going to focus on Sarah and Reagan as they build a cult from the ground up and learn to deal with Marvin without compromising on their insanely idealistic vision that they have for this new venture. On an episode-to-episode basis, we're going to delve into the various aspects of American culture that people engage with on a cult-like level. We're going to see everything from stan culture and Swifties to Reddit incels, as these are going to be the populations of people that Sarah and Reagan tap into to recruit new membership. I have a 4th draft of a script that I am incredibly proud of, a production team that is ready to come on and help me shoot this. Right now, what I'm looking for above all else is funding and maybe a seasoned producer or showrunner to help legitimize a relatively green television creator and writer. I really do believe in this project more than anything else I've ever written or developed because I do think it is incredibly relevant and salient to today. I firmly believe that every person in this country, regardless of political affiliation, is terrified of whatever they think the future is going to be. You combine that dread with the fact that we all engage with culture in a cult-like fanaticism, and I think you have an incredibly relevant story. But above all else, I really do believe that the question that this show is going to explore is the question that we should all be prioritizing above all else, which is, what is keeping us from building the life that we want? And what part of ourselves are we letting get in the way of that? Because if we can all agree that the Kool-Aid that we're currently being served is poisoned, why wouldn't we try to make our own? Thank you.
All right, let's give it up for Sam Schaefer with Cult-Like Activity.
Now passing it over to the judges.
Sure. I really love your energy and kind of the tone with which you pitched because it matches the tone of the piece, and it really just gave me a good idea of like what kind of project you're making. The comps were great. I think this is more of a personal thing. I kind of want to know a little bit more about the story for the characters, and that would be like my only sort of note. And I think you did a great job at tying in like the greater question, which like series really need, is like, what is the thesis? What is the, the thing that we're talking about at the end? So really well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought you were very engaging, and I think you drew everyone in this theater into what you're saying, which is kudos. You're very funny.
Thank you.
The show is funny. I love the visuals. I agree with everything you're saying. I think the central theme, you nailed it. I think, just to nitpick, I think there's almost too many words on the screen. I was like, I want to read everything.
Yeah.
But I think if it's like a leave behind, I'm like, absolutely. But I think if like, in those like longer pages, maybe like more like little bullet points. That's just me nitpicking, and I'm a comedy gal, so I thought it was really funny.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
I'm going to caboose off of that as well because one of your greatest strengths of your pitch is you. And so your presentation is pulling focus. And so just being super sensitive to that. I was a little bit confused of whether I was hearing the arc of the pilot story or if it was the arc of the first season. And then, of course, you're like, okay, over the first season. And it was like, oh. And then I was like, that's a lot of story for a pilot. And so that would be something that I would maybe take a closer look at. And then also just giving a little bit of like some verbal cues of, okay, so the pilot opens on, or just to like cue us in for that. And let's see. Yeah, I mean, it is a really, really great high concept idea with a lot of heart and depth. And so you did a beautiful job of really balancing that, both in terms of just like how you built the pitch, but also your presentation of it as well. My final thing, just super, super nitpicky, is that you said that you have a fourth draft of the script. I would drop fourth draft and just own that you've got a draft of the script that's ready for the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I guess I'm the last one to speak again. So honestly, I think it's like a funny. I think.
Yeah, I think the idea kind of came to me. This is actually the first idea I ever had for a TV show ever. I've written a bunch of other scripts in the meantime, but I came back to it this year specifically because I lost my job in January, and the people that were there to support me were my friends in my community. And it just felt like a really good script to turn back to and develop in a time where I was really struggling with this question of, what does support look like? And if I'm in this stage where I'm rebuilding my life, what do I want that to look like? And what parts of myself am I keeping from making that happen?
Cool. And then what's the name of the cult?
If you talk to me more after this, and we can get into it. That's one of the running bits of the first season, is that they cannot settle on a name. Awesome. That it? Hell yeah. Thank y'all so much.
All right, give it up for Sam.
Okay, awesome. Up next, we have It Revolves Around Taicho from Zoe Milankovic and Elias Kyriakidis.
Hi everyone, I'm Zoe. I'm the writer and director of feature screenplay It Revolves Around Tycho.
Hi everyone, I'm Ilias, the producer.
This is a story about 16th century astronomers. Okay, but I promise it's not boring. I first learned about this in 11th grade astronomy, and it was kind of the first time I realized that behind every single scientific discovery is just messy human drama.
And in this historical dramedy, we're following young Johannes Kepler as he apprentices under the larger-than-life Tycho Brahe. When Kepler goes under Tycho's wing, he falls into a bizarre world of manipulation, ego, and the cosmos.
Kepler must decide how far he's willing to stoop in pursuit of scientific truth. Will he stoop to the level of Tycho Brahe? Who is Tycho Brahe?
Glad you asked. Tycho Brahe was the most prolific astronomer of the time. He was essentially an influencer of the time. He was able to collect some very accurate data about the sky that no one else had, but he was kind of bad at doing the math. He usually had other people do the work for him, or he had the data, he just didn't use them properly. He was also wearing a golden prosthetic nose. This is true, because he lost his nose at a duel when he was a teenager. He has a planet named after him. He even has a portrait at the Griffith Observatory. He's like a cool guy. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Kepler, Johannes Kepler is like an actual famous astronomer, not just like Tycho Brahe with a portrait. He has 5 stars, 5 moons. He has nameless telescopes and spacecrafts. He even has a K-pop group named after him. He invented the laws of planetary motion, which are used to this day. So I think he's like actually the most famous astronomer.
Yeah. Okay. And our third character was a foil to Kepler. It was Tycho's beloved pet, Moose.
But we'll get into that later. So this story drops us right into the year leading up to Tycho Brahe's mysterious death, or maybe murder, told through the eyes of his apprentice, Johannes Kepler. So Kepler kind of finds himself slowly transforming into Tycho, as these are both men with festering egos they're kind of obsessed with each other, although they never admit that to themselves. In a way, they're 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah, they were very obsessed with each other. It was a little homoerotic too, if you ask me. But the tone is absurd, and that's why we want to cast one actor to play both parts. One of the fresh-faced Kepler and one of Tycho, the older, lumbering man.
So the tone is a lot like Amadeus with astronomers. It's offbeat, it's heightened, and intoxicating.
The story starts with young Kepler as he's sending out his theories to all the astronomers of the time, only to get in a hostile correspondence with none other than Tycho Brahe.
And so it's in this hostile correspondence that Kepler realized Tycho has something that he really wants, these books of data. And he's willing to be his apprentice, do his math, do his dirty work, live in his castle, as long as in his free time he could use those books of data to find and follow his own theories. This kind of backfires because Tycho is a little bit more interested in dangling those books in front of him and partying and drinking. And okay, if you could imagine, this is crazy, but if you could imagine a world where a billionaire could just buy their way into being like a really famous astronomer scientist.
Crazy, right? Like we don't see that at all.
So if you could imagine being this guy's assistant, he would make your life a living hell. And so Kepler starts to realize that Tycho cares more about his pet moose than his pet Kepler. And this all kind of comes to a head when Tycho's pet moose, and this is historically accurate, gets into a barrel of mead, getting drunk, falling down the stairs, and dying. And it's at a banquet for Moose that Kepler has finally, he's had it. He catches Tycho taking credit for some of his work, and in that moment decides to sprinkle a little bit of mercury in the paste that sticks on his nose, leading to Tycho's untimely demise.
Wait, so he killed him?
Okay, well, we don't know that for sure because Tycho had a lot of enemies. So he had an apprentice that was after him, but he also had like a cousin that was murderous and wanted to kill him, and he had a bladder infection because he didn't want to get up to go pee at the party. Basically, we don't know, and Kepler doesn't know. And Kepler's someone who puts truth above everything, and in the end, he has to be okay with not being the man who knows everything, and realizing that science is about seeking truth with humility and not ego.
Yeah, Tycho's death essentially haunts Kepler until the very end. And in this story, we're essentially asking, in a fight of ego versus ego, who is winning? And in this case, no one.
No.
And in any case, actually.
In any case, no one. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and now we'll pass it off to the judges.
Good. All right. Well, that's funny. It's kind of like Mr. Krabs Plankton a little bit, in a hilarious way. But no, I thought that the concept's actually really great. I think kind of if you were able to describe their relationship a little more in the pitch, and what it's going to be, I think that's going to kind of give most of the comedy in this concept. So I feel like I didn't get the largest picture of that, and I think that if you provided a little more on that, this is cool. you know, it's cool either way though.
Yeah, I thought it was super original, like a totally unexpected concept, and I get really excited when I get something that I'm like, I've never thought about something like this. So congrats on that. I think for me, the tone wasn't totally clear. Like Amadeus as like the first comp that you say, and the comedy just didn't totally, like, I just didn't grasp the tone. And I think maybe if you kind of go towards the relationship, and where the comedy kind of comes from, like, you know, and being a little more specific about like it'll visually look like this, but it'll be in the comedy style of X. I think that would be really helpful, because I think that's where I was like, I'm not totally sure, because obviously like your pitch and the way that you're playing off of each other is very fun and playful and comedic, and the timing's really great. So I just wanted more of that. And then I think you skipped over the like some references, and I was like, it was too fast, and I was like, wait, I kind of want to see, because that's exactly what I'm kind of like, you know, wondering. So yeah, but it was really fun.
I loved the shtick you guys were doing. I think that was really funny and original, and played into these, you know, these two main characters. I think for me, I agree with the tone. I think also, what felt like was missing was why do we care, or why do you two care, in bringing us as an audience into that? Because it's random and funny as hell, and I love it. But I'm like, well, maybe that's a question. Like, what made this idea come to life? I think I wanted to know more about that.
Yeah, I feel like this idea is relevant, and I kind of slightly touched on it in a joke, but I do feel like right now, especially, science becomes a lot about like being a famous scientist, having this ego, being a billionaire, like kind of the Elon Musks, the Jeff Bezoses, like using their money to go to space. And I think that makes this story from like thousands of years ago relevant again. Hundreds of years ago.
Great job. Loved it.
Echo everything that my colleagues up here have to say. So just one, the banter and the energy and the chemistry between the two of you is so palpable, visceral, delightful. My one sort of like note on that front is that you are playing to her and you are playing to us. And so that just from like from a pitch perspective and receiving a pitch, I want you to be engaging with me. And so I think just in terms of getting that down, because otherwise your chemistry is really fun, and I think is reflective of the tone of the movie that you're making, and so don't want to lose that at all.
Sorry, one more thing. I feel like I missed what's your roles in this project?
We said it like in the very beginning. I'm the writer-director of the screenplay, and at least
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
sorry about that. Thank you guys so much.
Awesome. Let's give it up for It Revolves Around Tycho from Zoe and Elias.
And next up, we have Lucky Lenny from Jack Camp Pies.
Hi, everybody. Hello. Well, in that case, I'll take a clicker. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Jack Campese. I'm the writer-director of Lucky Lenny. This is my producer, Sam Thompson.
Hello.
Here's some little blurbs about us, projects that we've been working on, what we've got coming up. So Lucky Lenny is a feature film about a gay wannabe actor and his estranged teenage daughter as they embark on a cross-country road trip to claim a winning lottery ticket. So at the beginning of this movie, Lenny is in on an audition. He's asked to channel his inner father, and he flubs, and he doesn't know what to do because he's been an absent father for almost 10 years now, and so he really bombs this audition. Out of nowhere, his estranged teenage daughter, Sid, shows up on his doorstep. She's begging for a place to stay. She's just run away from home. Lenny says, "You can stay a night, but I'm returning you to your mom tomorrow morning." The next morning, he's going through her bag, looking to steal some money, and finds a winning lottery ticket. He freaks out. He thinks this could be his big moment. This is his chance. And Sid catches him in the act. She claims it as her own. And he says, well, you're not even old enough to play the lottery, and this can only be claimed in Ohio. So seeing a chance at fortune, they go to the airport. They're turned away because Lenny doesn't have an ID. And so they decide to hit the road and make a road trip out of it. This is when their fractured relationship really starts to show. They haven't seen each other in over 10 years. They're bickering all along the way. They make it to Vegas that night where Lenny gambles a lot, he drinks a lot, he makes a fool out of himself, and Sid has to take care of him, seeing her father's true colors. The next day, they end up stranded after Lenny tries to make a shortcut. They're picked up by some vagrant teens living out of a van, and they're brought to their no-rules commune in the middle of nowhere. And while here, Sid really comes alive. She feels like she's found her people. It's chaotic, it's messy, it's crazy, it's everything that a teenager would love. And Lenny feels super out of place. He just wants to get back on the road and continue their journey. The next morning, he finds Sid overdosing. He snaps. He finally jumps into dad mode. He throws her in the van. He takes off and steals it. They're chased across state lines by cops, and he makes it to the hospital just in time to save her life. Unfortunately, he ends up in cuffs. He's able to talk his way out of it, and he uses the remaining money to get them back to Ohio, getting them the final way there. They make it to the lottery office, and he is told that he doesn't have a winning lottery ticket. They actually just have a printout of the winning numbers. Lenny feels dejected. He feels like an idiot. He feels like everything was for nothing. And Sid pulls him outside, kicking and screaming. And she reveals the truth, that her mom had given up on her. Her mom was getting ready to send her away to reform school. And Lenny was her last chance at having a family. Lenny views this as the end of their journey. He takes her back to her mom and says, it's time for me to get back to my life in LA. He sits there at the bus station contemplating this journey he just went on. He sees someone that reminds him of his daughter. He has a change of heart, and he races out of there, and he goes over back to Sid's mom's house just as she's getting ready to run away again. He begs for another chance, and they jump in the car together and head off, their future unknown, but they have each other. In terms of the visual references for this project, we're trying to expand upon what we did with the short film. So a 2-camera setup, a lot of improv, shooting in real locations, natural light. These are some comparisons of films that inspired me as I was writing it, and what we're looking to achieve in terms of the tone of the feature film.
What's been really amazing is, since Jack has already gotten to make a short film of this story, is working with audiences and seeing what resonates when we're in different cities across the country. Now that this is elevated into a feature, it's pretty amazing that with these characters of Sid, Lenny, and Monica, we have this dad and daughter story that runs the film. And then on the way, we have this road trip thriller. But then we come to find out at the heart of it that it's really a queer coming-of-age story, not just for Sid, but for Lenny as a father, and also coming of age really for the first time as an adult. So right now, we're in pre-production. As we enter the new year, we're actually going to start casting the leads. We're very excited. We have our first money in and a start date. We're going to shoot this movie on June 15th of this summer. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jack to talk about his director's statement.
So this is a story that's very personal to me. This comes from my own complicated relationship with my dad and was inspired by a crazy mishap that he had when I was younger with a lottery ticket he believed to be real. I think this story has a lot of core themes about responsibility and passion. I feel this as a filmmaker. I feel like I'm constantly kind of at odds with like my relationships with my family, with my partner, and my passion and my drive for filmmaking. And I think that comes through in Lenny. I think that comes through in Sid. And ultimately, this is a movie with 2 queer leads, and I think it has a lot to say about identity, found family, and the families that we're looking for. We're really excited to share this with anyone that's interested. We have a full feature script and a budget to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and pass it off to the judges.
Hello. Before, we got to the comp of Little Miss Sunshine, as I was watching, I was like, oh, this feels like Little Miss Sunshine. So kudos to you for getting the comp. It's one of my fave movies, so that's amazing. I almost feel like I wish that the presentation was flip-flopped. I almost wish that we started off a little slower before we got into the story. I wanted to hear more, I wanted to hear your director's statement maybe first and hear more about the characters and the tone and then launch into the story. Maybe that's a personal preference, but I almost wanted you to set everything up a little bit before we got into it. And then I also think I could have used more words on the screen a little bit. Maybe it's those little bullet points from the story to put on the different pages, but I love the visuals. I totally get what you're going for, and it's something I would love to watch. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm trying to ditto everything that you just said. I really enjoyed the visuals. I felt like they just pulled me into the story, and I could feel the tone of it. The one thing that I was longing for that I think links back to what you were saying is I was missing more of the emotional journey. Like, I was hearing a lot of plot and a lot of the story beats, but I wasn't getting as much of what I imagine is just such a rich relationship between those two central characters. And so I wanted to hear more about that.
Yeah, I think my question is, who are the other characters outside of the two main characters? Just so I could get a better picture of the full story.
Agree with everybody's notes. I think going to Elizabeth's, I think because it's such a personal story, like when you got to the director's statement, I was like, this is the kind of story where you need to sort of start there to kind of like guide us into the why and then dive into the story. I think that would be really powerful. I also think that because you're so advanced into where, I love that you integrated that this is based on a proof of concept. Obviously all of these are, but like that you kind of like gave us that. So that gives me like, okay, there's something that I can watch. There's stuff that has already gone to festivals. So congrats on that. And then because you're advanced into like your production sort of like plan, I think you should add what you're looking for. Like, what is it that you need and you're seeking? So that would be my note. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Amazing. Let's give it up for Lucky Lenny from Jack Can Pies.
Okay, up next we have Paper Tiger from Dawn Ahmad.
Can y'all hear me? Awesome. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Don Ahmad, and today we're going to be talking about my feature film, Paper Tiger. It is a live-action dramedy set in Sugarland, Texas. So, Paper Tiger is an eclectic dramedy about a Pakistani-American drug dealer clashing with new cousins, bumbling best friends, and his divorced parents as he scrambles to save his sister's wedding. One humid summer night, Omar, a dropout-turned drug dealer, scams a group of Indian Americans with his reluctant friends. The next day, when they arrive at his sister's ceremony, they realize that the guys they scammed are the groom's cousins, and these cousins are hell-bent on revenge. So this is our first comp of the night. It is Anora. I love it. You love it. I think visually, it's a feast. Visually, tonally, it's like the movie's main comp, and it has this dramatic gut punch at the end that I kind of want to implement to my script. And also just, I think it's like our primary visual inspiration for like night exteriors. Oh, wait, my bad. So, meet the Shires, incredibly dysfunctional, even by Pakistani-American standards. Here we have Omar, our protagonist. He's definitely not a self-insert, dropout by day, drug dealer by night. Omar is able to wiggle out of a number of situations due to his ability to lie on a whim. But his family's beginning to catch on, and pretty soon lying will not be enough. Then we have his sister Aisha, a fairy but well-meaning mess. Aisha just wants to get through the night in one piece, but her anger towards her parents and eating disorder are damn near tearing her apart. She wants out. And then we have their mother, Sumra. While her love may come off as mania, Sumra coddles her family with an iron grip. Her concern for her daughter's wedding skyrockets when her religious superstitions begin to take root, such as Nazar. Here's good time. I had a good time watching this. Y'all had a good time watching this. It's a great movie. I think it's just, this is a movie about a sleazy guy crawling his way out of a sleazy situation after a sleazy situation, and that's basically what Paper Tiger is on like a very domestic suburban level. Here are the antagonists. Basically, we have Abrar, Indian American, the prideful black sheep of his family. He wants to make sure his cousin is marrying well and that he gets back what he's owed, which is a lot of money. Omar scammed him. Then we have Farouk, Omar and Aisha's father, a sleazy, angry tower of rage and regret. Farouk, like his son, is a schemer. He clashes with Omar as he tries to win Summer back. And then we have Kareem, Jordanian American, Omar's best bud who's starting to doubt their friendship. Kareem will quote the Quran and pine after a girl in the same sentence. He's the worst wingman of all time. He's not based off a real person either. And here we have A Woman Under the Influence. It's my favorite movie, and I think the mixture of slapstick and domestic violence, the drama, the humor, it all blends together well, and I hope that my script, well, I guess my feature is sort of like resembles that on screen. And, oh my god, that's so much text. Basically, what you have to we have to take away from this is Omar lies to himself. He lies to his family. He's not able to open up to anyone, and he sort of dig himself into like a hole after hole after hole. And at the start of the script, his sister Aisha is like, "Yo, you have to tell our mom that you dropped out of college." He's like, "Okay." And then the deadline was her wedding. On her wedding night, he still hasn't done it, so he has to tell his mom that. And then it pretty soon just escalates into a whole like, "Oh wait, like these cousins are here. How do I deal with them? How do I tell my mom this?" And then he chooses not to tell his mom, which is a really bad situation because the cousins that pull up end up just exposing him anyway. So at the end of the script, it's sort of up to Omar to prove that he could be the son and brother that his family needs him to be, and he learns how to be honest with himself and his family, including his dad. This is top 3 Scorsese for me. I know it's a crazy take, but it has so much manic energy within the script and within the, I guess the latter third of the movie that I want to implement to Paper Tiger. Here are the locations. Paper Tiger will ideally be shot in Sugar Land, Texas, where I attended countless Pakistani weddings. 95% of the movie is in Sweetwater Country Club, which is so crazy because it's like WASP HQ. My mom got married there. My aunt got married there. My other aunt got married there. It's that crazy. This is also a crazy comp. I'm not going to spoil the movie, but if you haven't watched it, please watch it. But basically, one location, family ensemble, cameras flying around everywhere. And why me? That's so much text. So it's sort of like I grew up in a lot of the countries, states, whatever. But my home base was always Sugar Land, Texas, where I attended countless weddings with my mom, and I never really felt ingrained into the community because I'm bipolar. I speak one language. I often clash with my dad and my cousins and whatever. But years ago, I found out that my family will always be there for me, no matter how many tattoos I insisted on getting. And this script is sort of emulating that experience. And it's also just, I don't see a lot of South Asian stories on stage. I mean, on screen. But when I do, I feel like they could use a little bit more authenticity. And so that's what we're trying to do here. Here are the rest of the comps. Emphasis on Shiva Baby because, one location, family dramedy. But also Boogie Nights is just such a vibrant cast, and it balances an ensemble perfectly. And that's me with longer hair, and that's my DP with really long hair. And these are my short films. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to pass it over to the judges.
Hello?
I'll go? Okay. I think the story is really funny. I think that what I didn't get a ton of, which seems like it's the most important thing to you, is just kind of you in the deck and why this story is so important to you. And also the things that you feel like you're bringing to the audience. I feel like you explained it. And you're also a funny guy. So I didn't get a lot of funny on the screen. But every time you made a joke, it was funny. And I think there were a lot of words, and maybe if you cut it a little bit and put more of your voice into it, because you're writing too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you're funny. The deck has a really funny concept, and maybe just having it be a little bit lighter in the deck would be helpful.
Thank you.
I agree with that. I think also at the towards the end, you started to not read and just sort of talk to us. And I think that I kind of wanted that at the beginning. It's just tell me the story, have the deck just be a guide instead of reading, because I felt very disconnected from the story. And I think this is just personal taste. When you go to the characters, you have the illustrations. And it made me just be like, wait, did I miss something? Is this animated, and I just think like just putting like any human face of any actor that you think would be your dream cast for those roles would really matter to me. But that's just personal and my 2 cents.
Yeah, I feel like this worked the best when you looked up and looked at all of us and spoke from the heart. Because I think I would love to watch this. So the comps are so great. Again, personal taste. I always like those things more in the beginning. But I think, as we all said, like, I think reading off the screen isn't as effective. But I think the story is super solid. And yeah.
I so enjoyed the story, and your character descriptions are awesome. They're just so clean, sharp, funny. I got them immediately, and I was actually able to hold on to them in my head, which is it's a real testament to your ability. And then yes, I also, my only bump was that that I wasn't able to go back and forth visually between the amazing images that you pulled, and I loved how you referenced them and why you were referencing them, so that I understood even more about your vision and what you wanted to do. But then when we went to the slides, I did get confused tonally of where we were at. And so, although they were great, I love the design of them. So.
Thank you.
Maybe I missed this, but do you have a timeline for or what you're looking for?
Well, as of right now, we're just shooting the proof of concept in February. But yeah, we welcome anyone interested in financing the future. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Awesome. Let's give it up for Paper Tiger and Dawn Ahmad.
And up next, we have Skylight from Adia Ivy.
Hi, my name is Adia Ivy. I'm the writer and director, and I really love Black conspiracy theories. Like my dad, for example, he is convinced that the government is using UFO sightings to distract you from political unrest and rising gas prices. And I have no way to back him up, but I think he's onto something. So I partially wrote this for my dad, who is the main source of my dorky sense of humor and my love for sci-fi. But I also wrote this for my grandma, who was the first person to read my really weird short stories as a kid and genuinely asked me to elaborate. And she asked some really good questions. So Skylight is an Afro-surrealist sci-fi feature. It follows the daughter's return home to her family farm to help care for her grandmother's progressing dementia. But when she's confronted with supernatural activity, Nia realizes that Grandma Gloria's stories about aliens, spirits, and cults may be rooted in some truth after all. So Nia's a recent college grad and a jaded skeptic. She just got a computer science degree in hopes that a career in programming could be her ticket out of her very small hometown, but she asked too many questions, which clashes with the tech bro culture, so she has to return home with a sense of failure. And as the family's worried about Grandma Gloria's health, their neighbors' homes are also being bought out by a corporate farm called Greenco. And Nia's caught completely off guard when the cows go missing, and she also sees a glowing figure in the night. So, more info about Gloria. She's always been an outside thinker. She uses traditions of root work to connect with the land and the ancestors. So, her stories about spirits, and also her sharing the theories of Great Aunt Pearl, may she rest in peace, about aliens, doesn't really land well with Nia's parents, because you see, Nia's mom is just too held up with the farm to really engage with Nia's theories. And Nia's dad, David, is too held up also, and he's also, he sees his family struggling, and he feels like he failed the family. So, ultimately, the only person, I'm sorry guys. David sees how hard that his family's working, and he feels like he failed his family. And this is also just a recipe for a disaster when he also meets Greg. He's the founder of Greenco. He's a charismatic mess with good intentions. He also thrives off being the sole source of hope for people who have nothing left to believe in. You see, he He bought out land in Middle America and was chased out of Canada for fraud. And so now he has a multi-million-dollar corporation with hundreds of employees who are now waiting to be saved by extraterrestrial gods. All of which Nia will discover soon enough, but unfortunately, the only person that Nia can really count on is her ex-girlfriend from high school, Amber. Prom was weird. They haven't talked since, and they refuse to talk about it now. But they bump into each other at a gas station, and when they realize that they're saying the same strange things around town, the two make sure to get to the bottom of it. So ultimately, Nia's nihilism and Amber's toxic optimism merge into camaraderie. And in their sleuthing, they reconnect with their town, the family, and the land while orchestrating the downfall of an alien-worshipping cult right before their scheduled rapture. Now, I recognize this is a very unique feature concept with a very specific storytelling style. We're polishing the feature script and submitting it to a few different labs, and we're preparing to go into production summer 2026. I also really want to shout out the Black filmmakers who continue to inspire me in my storytelling. Between Boots Riley's Sorry to Bother You, Jordan Peele's Nope, and Raven Jackson's All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt, I really appreciate the use of surrealism across these projects, whether it's humorous, horrifying, or a dreamlike experience. Personally, I'm really interested in asking you all, how weird does our world need to get before we break out of our daily routines? I'm approaching colonialism with a sense of irony. We have a gentrifying cult that's buying out land and exploiting resources, only to be sabotaged by an extraterrestrial entity that has no cultural context of the ecosystems that they're disrupting. I also really want this to feel more like an indie dramedy. I'm really interested in using still frames in very tight spaces within the home because Nia's family feels like they're alone against the world. But as we follow Nia's journey over time, we start to step into more intimate, tighter framing and very intentional camera movement. And by the end of the film, even though we return to these still frames, it's also embraced by Nia's community. Speaking of community, I'm really grateful to be working with this incredible team of artists from AFI. Becca is our producer. She has experience producing features. Vedika assisted on a documentary feature. And I think she can really handle this story with a lot of care. I'm also excited to work with Denija. He specializes in gay westerns and black sci-fi, so I think it will be a really fun project. But yeah, I think ultimately I love Black conspiracy theories because I find a lot of joy in finding the nuggets of truth within these tales that help us rationalize the unprecedented times we've lived through. I see it as a reminder that even in the most chaotic times, we don't really have to face the world alone. Thank you all.
Amazing. Thank you. And we'll pass it off to the judges.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really struggle with public speaking.
Oh, you did such a beautiful job. I think that we were, yeah. Yeah, I hope you could feel this energetically. I felt the entire room just like leaning into you. And yeah, so thank you. Thank you for being so brave to come up and share the story with us because it's a really unique one, and I don't typically, like, genre-wise respond to this type of story, and I found myself just going, oh, like just really listening and fully engaged. And great job with the photos, leading us into the pitch and grounding us in your world, your point of view, and then the subsequent images were just really great. The comps I thought were super spot on. My one teeny tiny note, which might be like coming back to how engaged I was when you ended the story of the feature, and I may have misheard something. It felt open-ended to me for some reason, and I don't know if that was just me and how I heard it or not. And I think if it is open-ended in some form, just acknowledging that in a way.
For sure.
But really well done.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well done. You made a playlist. That's pretty cool. I was way into that. That was cool. how big is the world you're trying to build for a movie like this? Like what does it look like to you?
Yeah, I think in terms of production scale, I imagine between Begonia and Eddington, it does kind of have more of a modern Western vibe. For the proof of concept, I'm focusing specifically on Gloria and Nia's relationship, so it is more contained to the family farm.
Cool.
I really appreciate with you opening, this whole pitch with how it relates to you. I mean, that got me immediately. I have a special relationship with my dad, and so I was like, oh, I got you. I'm here with you. I think you drew all of us in. Like, the whole room is silent watching you pitch. Like, you're really good at what you do. And so I was excited to hear all about this. And I think it is such unique. I think you're blending, these two different genres. I think that my only note would be, I think you mentioned it being an indie dramedy. And I think I was like, I don't know if I get that from your comps. I mean, nope, love. But I'm like, I don't know if I get indie or, you know what I mean? So I think maybe, I don't know, leaning into, because you're very funny when you do have these, like you were mentioning things, I'm like, oh, this is funny. So I think leaning into that and owning that throughout the pitch, I think would make it feel, more full circle. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you all said. I think for me, because your visuals are so stunning, and it's like exactly the kind of, all the visuals are so great. And when you went to indie drama, I was like, wait a minute, what? So I would just lift that all together from your pitch. Then you have a feature at 30 million, which is pretty high. So the thing, and I think this goes to Laverne's note for me, was I couldn't really grasp fully the story. I think focusing more, because I thought it was like about the grandma's story or the dad, and then the girlfriend came in, and that seemed like it was more important. So I just wanted to understand, like, whose journey are we on? Who are the leads? Who are we following? Who are these additional characters that are going to be part of this journey and this discovery that your main character is going to be going through? So just like streamlining that a little bit, I think would help the pitch.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Well
Let's
done.
give it up for Adia Ivy with Skylight.
And next up, we have the re-education of Jane Brown from MK McGee.
Let me see if I can lift. That's not going to stay, is it? It won't stay. Sorry, guys. Okay, let me just get it to... Oh, nope. Had it. All right, cool. Hello, everyone. My name is MK McGee, and I am a writer and director focused on psychological horror stories with a social edge. My feature film, The Re-Education of Jane Brown, is a feminist psychological horror film that blends the institutional dread of Girl Interrupted with the repression and body horror found in the film The First Omen. This is a deeply personal film for me. I am a survivor of sexual violence, so I know firsthand what it means to lose autonomy over your own body. And I wanted to write a story about an abortion provider who once gave women their autonomy only to have her own violently taken away when she is imprisoned in a re-education facility. And she must escape before she is stripped of her identity and forcibly impregnated. The film takes place in the very near future, where abortion is illegal nationwide and punishable by imprisonment or execution. Like the film Civil War, it grounds an unthinkable scenario in such stark realism that the impossible feels very possible. This isn't the dystopian world of The Handmaid's Tale. This is now, and it should feel terrifyingly real because it is. The RMMS facility, which stands for Remothering a Motherless Society, is presented as a humane alternative to incarceration, but inside, women are trained in forced femininity and prepared for one thing: submission through motherhood. That belief that pregnancy and birth reveal a woman's true purpose is what drives our antagonist, Ruth Rowan, who is the coldly devoted director of the facility. Our protagonist, Rachel Marks, is an OBGYN haunted by guilt over the pregnancy-related death of her younger sister, and that guilt manifests as horrific visions throughout the entire film. At the center of the RMMS propaganda machine is Jane Brown. She is its public face and the driving force behind its Motherhood First movement. And lastly, we have sweet Ada Branch, who at 14 years old is the youngest resident of the facility and Rachel's roommate. She reminds Rachel of the sister that she lost, and so Rachel becomes fiercely protective of Ada. So let's jump into the story. The film opens on an empty New York City subway car. A woman's body lies across the threshold. She is covered in blood, her eyes are fixed open, and the doors open and close on her very pregnant belly. Meanwhile, Rachel Marks is secretly providing illegal abortions for desperate women and girls as young as 11 until she's caught and sent to the facility. Once inside, she is shaved, sedated, and placed under the control of Ruth Rowan. Also monitoring the facility is Jane Brown. Through old camcorder footage that is strategically placed throughout the entire film, we learn she's also secretly Ruth's adopted daughter and was raised from childhood to be the perfect product of re-education. As Rachel resists the facility, she and Jane form an intense romantic bond, and that will spark Ruth's jealous rage. Everything changes when Rachel's roommate, Ada, collapses on stage during a public indoctrination performance for young children. Later that night, Rachel finds Ada alone, bleeding and terrified, and realizes she is pregnant. But before Rachel can act, Ruth intervenes and executes Ada on the spot, declaring that she sealed her fate by resisting her re-education. Rachel snaps. She attacks Ruth, but she is quickly subdued and sedated. When Rachel wakes up, she finds herself restrained and being forcibly impregnated, because this is the final stage of re-education, submission through motherhood. Jane helps Rachel escape and shows her that Ada is still alive, but vegetative, kept alive by machines so that Ruth can harvest her baby. Rachel quickly performs a C-section and flees with the newborn. But Jane makes a different choice. She kills Ruth not to end the program, but to inherit it, because Jane has been re-educated, just not in the way that Ruth intended. In the final scene, Rachel escapes with Ada's baby, but as she does, she wonders, is she truly free, or has she simply traded one prison for another? The award-winning proof-of-concept short film was premiered in 2019 and is now in its second festival run. The feature script is also complete and was most recently selected as one of only 12 screenplays for Meryl Streep and Nicole Kidman's The Writers Lab. Our estimated budget is $3 million before incentives. We have an award-winning DP and the producer of the original Scream films attached. Partial funds are secured, and we are seeking partners to help us get across the finish line in 2026. In closing, I just want to leave you with this. I believe that film can entertain, but at the same time, it can also resist, provoke, demand change, and spark invaluable conversations. And this is one such film. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we'll hear from the judges.
I mean, this was so engaging, and I think that you did a terrific job at when telling the story. I felt actually horrified, especially when you open with the image. I'm like, oh wow, this is, the imagery that you use is so incredibly visual, and I think that was one of the biggest strengths of your pitch, as well as obviously starting out with how personal this is to you, and I'm so sorry that happened.
Thank you.
I love the comps. You did a great job at I like that you had various actors so that you can kind of imagine more about who could play this role. I think you did a really good job. I'm really
Thank you very much.
excited for your film. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will echo that. Thank you for sharing that with this theater. And yeah, I feel like you were very clear in every step of the way with this project of what you want, who the characters are. I specifically love the character pages. I always think like more comps the better sometimes for like characters and actors. So I love the way you laid that out visually. I think that was super effective. And yeah, I feel like I know these. I don't know if these are like leave behinds. I feel like there's almost a little bit too much text the last couple pages.
Agreed.
But
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is what it is. You're listing all this wonderful information. But I think just from a visual standpoint, that would literally be my only note. It was like, it's a lot, but
Yeah.
I get it at the same time. So
Now you
thank
all
you.
know
Yeah.
my email address.
Yeah.
Shoot me an email.
It was pitch perfect. You hit every moment. It was just beautifully developed, crafted as a pitch. It's such an intense time restraint, and so every second counts, and you maximize that really, really, really well. I always try to give something as like a quote-unquote growth opportunity. I'm a professor, so I have weird
Please.
language around those types of things. And I'm also a coach, so take this if it's helpful or disregard it if it's not.
Perfect.
At this very end, when you start to move into this is what I need, this is what I'm looking for, slow down and breathe and speak from your lower belly. And just like cut the speed in what you're saying these things by at least 50%. You've just made an incredible presentation. Own that, because you actually lost us in those last 20 seconds when you got to the ask.
I love that. Thank you.
Seems pretty scary. Yeah. No, I thought it was a scary horror movie. I was like, oh man.
What? It was a comedy. What are you talking about?
Good work.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
Let's give it up for the re-education of Jane Brown from MK McGee.
Okay, and lastly, we have When I Taste Blood from Caden LaRoche, Jazeel Chu, and Anoop Chaganti.
Anoop wasn't able to make it tonight, but he's here in spirit. Hey guys, thanks so much for coming out and sticking around. My name is Caden LaRoche. I'm the writer and director of this film.
I'm Jazeel Chu, producer.
And founder of the synagogue. And this is the thing we're making next. When I Taste Blood. So When I Taste Blood is essentially Dog Day Afternoon with vampires. Two vampires break into a blood bank at night, and what should have been a simple heist divulges into a hostage nightmare, and the sun is rising. So we start off the film with kind of like it's like a crime film at first, and we don't even know that they're vampires. We open up on Thomas and Annie in a dingy apartment. They're at the tail end of a crime spree, think natural-born killers, going from East Coast to West, and they're out to make a nest egg for the trip up to Alaska for the polar night. That's the 60 days of no sunrise. So everything was going according to plan until it wasn't. They are caught by a janitor, and that janitor's son is there as well, a loyal stowaway who's there working with his dad on graveyard shifts. Thomas shows his fangs. Can you guys hear me? Sorry. Thomas shows his fangs. Lives are lost. Police are killed, and backup is called. And along with that backup, we're introduced to a rookie police negotiator named Sally. She's out to make a name for herself with this case, and she's probably in over her head. While Annie works to get themselves out of this situation, Thomas manipulates his way through the phone calls. As the police close in and dawn is getting closer and closer, the line between human and monster blurs. So I grew up watching TCM and reading graphic novels and comics. That's like how Jazeel and I connected back in the day. We've known each other, been making stuff together for 15 years. So that's kind of what this film is. It's a very pulpy crime film that you don't really see made anymore these days. And we're hoping to bring it back. So the tone is sexy, it's violent, it's hyper. It's like being trapped in a car with no brakes. It's just going faster and faster and faster and faster. It's a thriller told in real time. We'll be shooting on 16 millimeter. That's what we've been shooting on for the past decade. It's the format that makes the most sense to my team and I. But along with that, we'll also be shooting on police body cams and surveillance cameras as well, constantly shifting the format of the film as the tension is ratcheted up for our characters. So obviously, Dog Day Afternoon is a huge inspiration to us, as well as Rear Window, just a perfectly constructed, contained film, which this is. Irreversible as well, just 16 millimeter grit, wide angle shots, that hovering camera that Gaspar Noé has. The film is hyper stylized. Split screens, split diopters, long takes. There's a sequence in the film where they throw their blood bags against the windows to block the sun, thus shading the entire climax in like a shade of red. One of the most enticing things about this project to me personally is the glass-walled lobby of this building that they're trapped in. I mean, imagine like a bird's eye view shot of Thomas and Annie being forced to smaller and smaller islands of shadow as the sun is rising. So the film becomes increasingly claustrophobic as we move towards the ending. Here's our characters. Annie is, she's jaded. She's been a vampire for centuries. Probably got here before this place was a country itself. And through this chaotic situation, this film, I mean, she's ready to succumb to eternity at the beginning, but by the end of it, she's sort of regained the lust for life again, feeling unfamiliar feelings that she just hasn't felt in centuries. She's also European, harkening back to just, you know, the classic vampire folklore. Thomas is anything but. He's an American boy that was supposed to be a fling and became an internal romance. And he lacks the self-control that Annie has. And because of that, the whole film spirals into violence. Rico's an everyman. He's the janitor. He falls prey to Thomas's lack of self-control. And he's an immigrant who is an outsider who is related, has a lot of things similar to Thomas and Annie than, you know, we come to think at the beginning. Sally is the sharp-tongued police negotiator. She's fresh off maternity leave. She's out to prove that she can actually do this and handle this fucked up situation. She's probably wrong, though. Captain Whitaker is, he's the most monstrous of our characters. He's Sally's head. He's in charge of the whole operation, and he's not afraid to get violent. McNulty's a pencil pusher, a partner of Sally's, and he's sort of our audience's view as to what's going on in our real-time thriller. The production timeline. We're looking to shoot this thing in first quarter of next year, 2026. We're backed by Carte Blanche, one of the teams behind The Brutalists. We've got seed funding, but we're looking for a little bit more. And then the Synagogue. Synagogue is a page that Jazeel started when we were in high school. It started as a Tumblr. It's got 500,000 followers. We have a podcast. We're big on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have a marketing plan in place with our film. Did the merch for Nosferatu, Weapons, DD, Sinners. I'm a film director, reality TV, action, sports, you name it. I've been making films since I was like 13.
Okay, we're at about 6
right,
minutes, so if you
okay.
could wrap it up, that'd be
Well,
amazing.
you guys get the idea, and if you want to be a part of it, please join. All right. Thank you.
All right, and we'll pass it off to the judges.
This was really fun, and I'm really excited about the movie. The comps were great. The visuals were great. I think because you have such a clear understanding of how you want to shoot it, I kind of think that what would be really helpful is, as you're telling the story, integrate these kind of cues about like these splashes and the shadows and like tying it into the story might be like, interesting. Yeah, great job. I'm really excited.
Thank you very much.
Love the title. I
Yeah,
really
thanks.
like the title. I also just feel I feel like it was very clear how you would direct it, and I really loved that because I think it adds so I don't know. I love that you're showing what you would want for certain sequences. I thought that was really effective and not something we've we see a lot of. I feel like that was really unique in how you would direct certain things. Again, I think the comps were really clear, and I think it's also it's always really nice to see like, oh, a Dog Day Afternoon with vampires. You're like, okay, I'm right there with you. So I thought that was really effective, and yeah, I'm excited for you guys. I'd love to see that.
Thank you.
Ditto. Such a great log line. The stakes, the tension was so evident in that just grabbed me immediately, along with the title as well. I love your idea about weaving in the director's vision into the story, because it just, that texture just really brings it alive, and you come alive when you're talking about how you will direct this. And so, yeah, I highly encourage you to weave that together, because it's a powerful combination. And I did feel like there might be a little tweaking with the order of the pitch, because the characters came after you told me the story, and I think I could have benefited from hearing that earlier. And the visuals and just the design of the deck. It felt like the pitch itself, the visuals, you know exactly what this is, and you've planted your flag, and you are celebrating and owning it, and it's like the train's left the station. Come join. It's really. I love the clarity of what you're doing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I actually was just curious. So is it a world where like vampires are accepted? Like people are in on the fact that they're there? Or are they like, oh, wow, we have a vampire problem?
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's the latter.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It seemed punk rock. Good. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
All right, let's give it up for When I Taste Blood from Kaden LaRocque, Jazeel Chu, and Anoop Chiganti. Okay, that concludes the pitch deck show and tell. Thank you guys so much for coming, and congratulations to all of the pitchers and the judges as well.
Do we want to see these movies, guys? Come on.
Come on, let's get them made. Let's get them made.